The cost to charter a certain airplane is X dollars. If the 25 members of a club chartered the plane and they shared the cost equally, what was the cost per member? Okay. So we have cost to charter the airplane is X dollars. And it says that 20 members of a club chartered the plane and shared equally. Number of members is 25. Okay, so they shared equally. So normally it's we need to find what was the cost per member. So cost per member is actually total cost. Oh, let me just so this is the total cost. So that will be total cost divided by the number of members. We have the number of members, but here we don't have the exact cost. It says X, okay? So the first condition, if we want to examine the first condition, it says if there had been 5 more members and all 30 had shared the cost equally, the cost per member would have been $40 less. So what this means is that if there has been so if X is equal to X over 25 minus 40 X over 30 minus this would lead us to 25x equals 30x minus 25 30 yes. So we have minus 5x here, minus 25. So this x 25 is 14 times 30. So this would allow us to have like the total cost, okay? The total cost shared between the 25 members. Okay, so if we have the total cost and we have the number of members, then we can find the cost per member. Okay, so I think this one is sufficient. That's my what I think. Let's take the second condition. Second condition. The cost per member was 10% less than the cost per person on a regularly scheduled flight. So cost per member less than 10% of cost per person on a regular flight. But we don't know the cost per person per regular flight. Huh? And also, we still do not know the value of X here, X dollars. So I think it's not sufficient because we need to find the cost per member. At least if we had the cost per person on a regular flight, maybe we could have gotten the value of cost per member. Okay, but we don't have this. This is not known. Okay, so this is sufficient. So in my opinion, so the first condition alone is sufficient. So maybe answer A. So let's check and see if that's the correct one. So A, yes, so A is the correct answer. Next question. What amount did Jean earn from the commission on her sales in the first half of 1988? So in 1988, Jean's commission was 5% of the total amount of her sales. So in the first condition, so we need to find like amount of the commission, okay? Amount from the commission from. So here, the first condition says that Jean's commission was 5% of the total sales. So commission amount is equal to 5% of uh, total amount of sale, okay? Total sales amount. So in the prompt, we don't have the total sales amount. Okay, so we can't have the commission amount. We need the sales total amount. We don't have it here. We don't even have it in the first condition. So this is not sufficient, I think. The second condition, the amount of jeans sales in the second half of 1988 averaged $10,000 per month, more than in the first half. So here he say, if we say that commission amount in first half is a C1, and commission amount in second half C2. I think here it says averaged. So that simply means that this is equal to. So the second half means that it's going from July to December. 1988. Okay, so this is equal to the sum of sales from July to December divided by 6, which is equal to C1 plus 10,000. And if this, I don't think it's sufficient. It's not sufficient. If we take the two, both of the conditions together, here we don't have the total sales amount. I think it's answer E. Let me check the answer. Like, what is the explanation here? So nothing about the amount of sales. Okay, not sufficient. The amount of jeans sales in the second half of 1980 averaged per month more than in the first half. So if the average sales per month in the first half was X, then the total sales of the year was 6X plus 6. Not sufficient. Okay. All right. So what, how to solve this? Okay, so basically this first condition not sufficient because it says in 1988, jeans commission was 5% of the total amount of sales. Okay, so if we say that the commission in the first half, C is equal to the commission in 1998 is equal to 5% of total sales, but we don't know the total amount of sales. And so this is not sufficient, okay? For the second condition, the amount of jeans sales in the second half, if we say that the amount of sales in the second half is S1, and amount of sales in the second half is S2. Or for that means S2 divided by 6 months is S1 divided by 6 months plus 10,000. No, that's so we will still have S1 and S2, not none. So this also will be not sufficient. Even if we take the two conditions together, we'll still have this unknown and this two unknown. Okay. Each of the 256 solid colored marbles in the box is either blue, green, or purple. What is the ratio of the number of blue marbles to the number of purple marbles in the box? The number of green marbles in the box is 4 times the number of blue marbles in the box. So here basically we have 250, which is equal to x plus y plus z. Z equal the number of blue marbles. Y is equal to the number of green marbles. Z number of purple marbles. Okay, so they say, so we need to find uh, the ratio of the number of blue marbles to the number of, so we need to find x z or x over z. But what do we know? In the first condition, it says the number of green marbles in the box is 4 times uh, the number of green marbles is 4 times the number of blue marbles. So y is equal to 4 times x. Okay, but we also know that here we have yeah, we have x plus y plus z, which is equal to this. Okay, what if we replace y by 4x here? So we have x plus 4x plus z equal to 56. And this will give 5x is equal to 256 minus z. So this will not allow us to get, the ratio. Okay, so it's not sufficient. So now if we take the second condition, it says that there are 192 green marbles in the box. So if there are 100, so we will have x plus y plus z, which is equal to 1 and 256. We know y is equal to 182, so x plus 182 plus z. Yes, so x plus z will be equal to 256 minus 192. This will allow us to get the value of x plus z. Okay, but it's not going to be sufficient to get the value of x, and the value of z, because this is what we need to find. What is the ratio of x over z? Okay, the ratio of the number of blue marbles to the number of purple marbles. So now if we combine the two, we know that from the first condition, it says that y is equal to 4x, and the second condition says that y is equal to 192. We can find the value of x. So this will mean that 4x is equal to 192, and x will be equal to 992 divided by 4, so we have 4 here, 16, 3, 2, 8 will be equal to 48. So since we have the value of 4 here, we also know that from the second condition, x plus z is equal to 64. So we have the value of x. We can find the value of z will be 64 minus 48. Okay, so we have 14 minus 8, 6. So z is equal to 16. So basically, this here, the ratio will be equal to 48 over 16. 48 over 16 will be 24 over 8, 12 over 4, 6 over 2, and 3 over 1. So, in my opinion, the answer is answer C. Let's check. So that's the answer. Let's just see how did he go about it. Okay. Yeah, so it's pretty much the same reasoning. Okay, let's move on to the next question. What is the circumference of circle C? The radius of circle is 2 pi. Okay, so here I think we need to find the formula of a circle. Uh, so the circumference of a circle. Circumference of a circle is equal to uh, 2 pi multiplied by radius. Okay, so pi, we know that pi is approximately equal to, yeah, 3.14. And now here, what is the circumference of a circle? So we have the radius is 2 pi. So the first condition, since we know the value of the circumference, so of the radius, so the circumference will be equal to pi multiplied by 2 pi, which is equal to 4 pi squared. Yeah, so here, so based on this condition, we can find the circumference. We know the value of pi for, yes. Okay, so no need to calculate, but we know that we can find. So this seems sufficient. The center of the circle is located at 0.78 in explain. Okay, so if you have 2, 3, so it's located somewhere. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we need to find the circumference of this circle. I don't think this is sufficient because we can have various circles, an infinite number of circles that can have this particular center. Okay, so since this condition does not give us any information about the radius, it's kind of impossible for us to know like the circumference, because we can have a circle like this, which is going to have a different radius than a circle like this. Okay, or we can have an infinite number. So not sufficient. Okay, not sufficient because we still need to get the value of the radius in order to find the circumference. We have the formula here, but the second condition does not provide it with that value. Insufficient because we did not know the value of the radius. Yeah, so when we are evaluating the second condition alone, we do not get the value. Okay, so when we are evaluating the second condition load, we do not take into account the first condition here. So we are evaluating only this one. So that's why I'm saying that we do not know the value of the radius because this it seems to be unknown when we are evaluating this one. Okay, so the second condition alone is not sufficient, but the first condition alone is sufficient because it gives us the value of the radius. So the answer is answer E. Let me check. Answer E. Answer A. Oh, sorry. Answer A. Because the first condition alone is sufficient. Okay. In the XY coordinate plane, what are the X coordinates of the four vertices of square JKMN? J and M are on the X axis, and Q and N are on the Y axis. So basically, what it is telling us is this. So we have our plane here. So the first conditions only tells us that J and M are on the x-axis, but we don't know which side. Okay, so we can have both of them being on the positive side of the x-axis. We can have J here and M here, but it can also be that they are on the negative side of the x-axis. It could be like this, J and M. So the same thing for K and N. Okay. Y axis, but we don't know. Is it on the negative side or the positive side? Okay. Or it could also be that one is on the positive side and the other is on the negative side. Okay. We could have like J here and N here. So, okay. Um, so this seems not sufficient. So not sufficient because many possibilities. So we do not have enough information to determine, the coordinates um, of these vertices. Okay. For the second condition, we can also, it says the center of the square is at the origin. So the origin is this one. That's the only information it gives us. But if that is the center, so we can also have multiple, possibilities. Because here, if we don't take into account the first condition, okay, so J, M, K, and N can be anywhere. Okay, we only know that this is the center, so it could be something like that. It can be a square like this. Okay, or you could even be something much more bigger. So we can have multiple possibilities here as well. So the second condition is not sufficient. This is not sufficient, okay? Because many possible uh, possible coordinates, uh, the vertices. If we take both, even though it says that J and J and M, they are on the x-axis. So since here is the center, what we know is that either J or M, one is on the negative side and the other is on the positive side. Okay, so it's possibly something like this, or we can switch, and then Km, it can possibly be something like this as well. But the right coordinates we do not know. So we could have something like this, or we could have J here and here, which is different, or we could have K a lot more on the top here and end here, So not sufficient as well. Even when we take both conditions together, when we combine, it's not sufficient. So that means that our answer is answer E. answer E is our correct answer. So let me okay, so in X Y plane above, is angle QPR a right angle? Points P and Q are the same, have the same X coordinate. Okay, yeah, so basically that's how it's Q and P have the same X coordinate. Okay, so this will make a straight line, something like this. So QPR is this. But if I have something like this, okay, they only tell me that Q and P have the same X coordinate, okay, which is this one. But I don't know the coordinate for R. R could be something like here, okay. If we have R here, we might not get like a right angle, okay. So this first condition here alone is not sufficient because we don't know the coordinates for R. Because we're looking for, the answer is to find out if this here is the right angle. The same thing for the second condition. It says P and R have the same y coordinate. It seems like they only tell me that, okay, we have our P there. This is P, which is having this y coordinate. P has the same y coordinate with the R, like this. But we want to find out if the angle here is a right angle. But we don't have the values. Like if we consider only the second condition, we do not have the value or the coordinate of Q. So Q could be here if Q is here. So we definitely know that this is not a right angle. Okay. The condition does not tell us the coordinates of Q. For it to be a right angle, Q must have the same x coordinate. Okay, but it's not given in the second condition alone. But when we take both conditions, if we take condition 1 and condition 2, so we know that P and Q have the same x coordinate. So that means that x coordinate Q is here, like this. And then we know that P and R also have same y coordinate. They have they have same y coordinate. Okay, so this will definitely be a right angle. Or you could also take it whichever way you want it. Like if we say that, for example, P is here, this is P, it has the same x coordinate with Q, even though Q is on this other side here. And the same the same P has the same coordinates with uh, the same coordinate with R. R can be here, or R can be, let's say, here as well. So this will be right. If R is on the other side, it will also be right, okay? So both conditions together, the two conditions together are sufficient. I think my reasoning is okay. So let me check. So answer C. Okay. Next question. A certain bag contains red, blue, and green marbles. What is the ratio of number of green marbles to the number of red marbles in the bag? So we have a certain bag contains red plus blue plus green marbles is equal to total number of marbles. What is the ratio of the number of green marbles to the number of red marble? So we are looking for green marble, its ratio to the number of red marble, or green over R. That's what we're looking for. So the first condition, the number of marbles in the bag is two times the number of blue marbles in the bag is two times the number of green marbles in the bag. So B is equal two times green. Will this be sufficient to give us this value? So we don't know the total number of marbles. So we definitely know that this is not sufficient. Because if we have J over R, or let's say, so this will be that J is equal to B divided by 2. Like this could be B divided by 2 over R, which is equal to B divided by 2R. Okay, so still not sufficient. We don't know the value of B. We don't know the value of R. Not sufficient. So first condition alone, not sufficient. Second condition, the number of blue marbles in the bag, we have blue marbles in the bag is three times the number of red marbles, three times red. So this will also be like the same reasoning. Okay, we are looking for G over R. This can lead us to say that R is equal to B over 3. We will get G over B over 3, which will be 3G over R. Over B, sorry. Okay, this is B. We don't know the value of B, we don't know the value of G. We can simplify, so we still have unknown values here. So the second is not sufficient as well. So if we take two conditions, both conditions, so if we take both conditions, we know from the first conditions that B is equal to 2G, and the second condition tells us that B is equal to 3R. And this led us to say that G is equal to B over 2. And this led us to say that R is equal to B over 3. And we are looking for, we have now the values of G and R in terms of B. And we are looking for G over R. We can just replace G here by B over 2 over R here. We can replace it by B over 3. So that will be B over 2 times, this is 3, times 3 over B. We can simplify this. It will be 3 over 2. So when we combine condition 1 and 2, then we can get the ratio of the number of green marbles to the number of red marbles in the bag. So This is sufficient. The combination of condition 1 and 2 is sufficient. Let's go on and check our answer. So C. C is the answer. Question 8. If A and B are positive numbers, what are the coordinates of the midpoint of line CD in X plane? Okay, so we have A and B are positive, so it should definitely be on this side here. The coordinates of C are A. So A is positive, so it can be something around here. So it can be any value. We don't know the value of A. Okay, and Y is 1 minus B. B is also positive. Let's say, for example, if A is equal to 1, B is equal to 2, for example. So that means that C coordinate here will be 1, 1 minus 2 will be minus 1. So C will be 1 minus 1. Can be something right here. If A is equal to 2 and B is equal to 3, because they are positive numbers, we would get something like this. Let me just, okay. We get C will be equal to 2 minus 2. So we say 2 here. So this is not sufficient because only with the coordinates of C we can determine the coordinates of the midpoint of the line CD. Okay, based on the first conditions, we don't even know the coordinates of D. Okay, so we don't know if it's going to be here or there. But what we know here, we also don't know the values of B and A and B. So let's say if A is 1 and B is 1, C is 1 and 0. So it can be here. So the same logic will apply for coordinate for the second condition. So first alone is not sufficient. The second is not sufficient too, because if we say, like if we say here, A is equal to 1 and B is equal to 2, D will be 0 and 2. And if A equal to 2, B 3, we will get minus 1, 2. If A is equal to 1 and B is equal to 1, so D will be 0, 1. But based on the second condition alone, we do not have any information about the coordinates of C. But if we take both, okay, so if we take both, for example, here it says when A is equal to 1 and B is equal to 2, C is, the coordinates of C are 1 minus 1. So this is C. And D is X is equal to 0 and B is equal to 2. So there is a formula that says if you want to get the midpoint of a certain line, let's say that we have the midpoint, we're looking for the midpoint, coordinates of midpoint. It's going to be xm, ym. So if you want to get the midpoint coordinates of a between two points, so here we're looking for the midpoint between C and D, we have to do xm here is equal to x1 plus x2 divided by 2. So one is x coordinate of C, and x2 is y coordinate, is x coordinate of D. Okay, and the y coordinate of the midpoint between C and D will be y1 plus y2 divided by 2. And you definitely know y1 is y coordinate of C, and y2 is y coordinate of D. So here we have this here. Okay, so x1 with the x coordinate of C is 1 plus x2 0 divided by 2, comma, y1 is minus 2 plus y2 plus 2, okay, this one, divided by 2. And then this gives us 1 over 2, 1 over 2. That's the midpoint. Okay. So that's, you will see that, so this is when we take, for example, if A is equal to 1 and B is equal to 2, and A is equivalent, giving us this. If we take the second hypothesis here, when A is equal to 2 and B is equal to 3, and we have these different coordinates of D, does it give us the same value? Let's just check. Okay, let's just say we are taking these coordinates here. So that means that x1 would be 2 plus x2, so it's minus 1 here. That would be minus 1 divided by 2. y1 is minus 2. And so here will be 3 plus 3 divided by 2. Yeah, because I made a mistake here. Because here for D is 1 minus A is 2, okay? And B is 3. So this definitely will give us 1 over 2, 1 over 2. If we're still not convinced, instead of using the supposition make replacing with numbers, we can use these values here. So we could simply say So we know x1 is the x coordinate of C, which is A, plus coordinates of D, which is 1 minus A divided by 2, and the y coordinate of C, which is 1 minus B plus B divided by 2. So we know these are going to cancel themselves, this also, and in the end we will end up with 1 over 2, 1 over 2. So combining the two conditions will be sufficient to determine the midpoint of the line segment CD. So answer C. So if L and K are lines in the xy plane, is the product of the slopes of L and K equal to -1? Okay. So one thing we can say here is that what he's telling us is line uh, whether line L and K are perpendicular, or like when they meet, does it make like a 90 degree angle. Okay. Are they perpendicular to each other? So now, let's check condition one. The line L passes through the origin and the point 1.1 and 1, 2. This is definitely not sufficient. So L passes through the origin, 0, 0, and 1, 2. So, so this is basically, no, I'm not drawing on this. This is L. But we don't have any information about K. Okay? Only what is telling us that we have to determine whether the product of the slopes is equal to -1 or whether the two lines are perpendicular. For the second condition, it tells us that line K has x-intercept 4. So x-intercept 4. So x and y-intercept 2. Something like this. So this simply means that K passes through uh, so x-intercept 4, x0, y4, and y-intercept 2 passes to 0. These are the 2 points that are that K passes through. So it's something like this. Okay, so you want to know if this here is perpendicular or does it have like a 90 degree. So the second condition alone is also not sufficient. So now, like if we combine the two conditions, uh, we can say and 2 in order to find the slope of the line, what do you call it, line L, for example, since we have these 2 points, the slope, we can say slope of L will be equal to, there is a formula for that, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus xy. So this will help us find the slope of L. So we know that y2 will be for this one, 2 minus y1, 0, divided by x2, 1 minus 0. Okay, so will be 2 over 1. Okay, so this will be 2. We can also find the slope of k we have here. So y2 is 0 minus y1 minus 4, x2 is 2 minus x1 is 0. So we have minus 4 divided by 2 and minus 1, minus 2. Um, I know I made a mistake here. So when it says x-intercept, that means that x is 0 and x is 4 and y is 0. My bad. Okay. So k has x-intercept 4. So it touches the x axis at the unit 4 here. So x is 4. So if it touches here, that means that y is 0. And y-intercept is 2. So that means x here is 0 and 2. So that means when we come here, in determining the slope, we can say that y2 y2 minus y1 0 divided by x2 0 minus 4. Okay, so this will give 2 over minus 4 minus 1 over 2. So now the question is, so we need to find we need to determine if the product of slope of L and slope of K is equal to minus 1. So slope of L multiplied by slope of K, that will be slope of L is this one, 2 multiplied by minus 1 over 2. So we'll simplify this. This gives us minus 1. So when we take the two conditions together, we combine them, we have enough information to say that yes, the product of the two slopes, or of the slopes of the two lines, is equal to minus 1. So the answer is answer C. So answer C. Last year, publisher X published 1,100 books consisting of first editions, revised editions, and reprints. How many first editions did publisher X publish last year? So we have the total number of books published is 1,100, and which is also equal to first edition, I will call it F, and revised edition, and reprinted edition, I'll call it P. So we need to find how many first editions did publisher X publish. So we need to find F. Okay, F. So it tells us that the number of first editions published was 50 more than twice the number of reprints. That's the first condition. We have first plus R plus P is equal to 1,000. And the first condition tells us the number of first editions published was 50 more than. So 50 plus twice, 50 more than twice the number of reprints. Reprints, we call it P, like this. So this is not sufficient enough, because even if we say that this can lead us to say that P is equal to F minus 50 over 2. Okay. And if we come here, try to replace P, so we have F plus R plus, we replace P by this, so F over 2 minus 25. So we still have this value here that we don't know. We don't know the number of revised editions, so it's not sufficient. Let's take the second condition. The number of revised editions published was half, so it says revised edition was half the number of reprints, equal to reprints divided by 2. So like we try to replace R here by P divided by 2 plus P. So taking the second condition alone, we still do not know the value of P. Okay, so we will have an equation where we have two unknown values. So this will not be possible to determine how many first editions were published. So the question is to find the number of first editions that were published last year. So this is not sufficient. This alone, second condition alone, is not sufficient. Let's take both conditions, 1 and condition 2. What we can learn from these conditions, first of all, is that f is equal to 50 plus 2p, and r is equal to p divided by 2. And so what we can do, we have this equation here, f plus r plus p. We can replace the value of f, should give us 50 plus 2p, plus r. We say r is p divided by 2, so plus p. So this will allow us to get the value of p. And once we get the value of p, we can simply replace the value of p here and then find the value of f. So this will give us 3p plus p divided by 2 equals, the 50 will go on the other side, 1050. This will let us do it down like this. This will give us 6p plus p over 2, and we will get 7p equal 2100. P 2100 divided by 2 is going to give us divided by 7, sorry, 7, it will give us 300. So p is equal to 300. So since we get the value of p is equal to 300, so f will be equals to 50 plus 2 times 300. And f will be equal to 50 plus 600, which is 660. So we get the value of f. So both conditions, 1 and condition 2, together are sufficient. So they have to be taken together in order to be sufficient. Let's check the answer. Answer C. Okay. If u is greater than 0 and v greater than 0, attends, je vais- la question c'est celle-là. Okay, if we have these, which is greater, u, so note that here it doesn't say that u is an integer or v is an integer. It simply says that u is greater than 0. Okay, and we need to find uh, u to the power v greater than v to the power u. Okay, so the first condition says that u is equal to 1. So that's for sure. We know the value of u. So if u is equal to 1, and that means that we will have 1 v like this. So no matter the value of v, one to the power v is always going to be equal to 1. Okay. And we also know that v is positive, okay, greater than 0. So we could get we can get some examples. We could get 1 over 1, 1 over 10, 1 over 100 will always be equal to 1. Or we could also have 1 over 1.5, which is equal to the square root of 1, which is still going to be 1. Okay, so this will still be equal to 1. On the other side, we have to compare this 1. We have to find out if 1 is greater than v to the power 1. But the only thing we know about v is that it is greater than 0. So v could be, so 1 could be less than v like this if v is less than 1. Okay? Because let's say, for example, it's less than 1. Let's say, for example, if v is equal to 1.5. So we will have 1.5 to the power 1, which will still give us 1.5. If we have 1 over 3 to the power 1, will still give us 1 over 3. Okay? But we can also say that for sure 1 will be greater, will be, no, no, no. This here is 1 is greater than v to the power 1 if v is less than 1. But 1 will be less than v to the power 1 if v is greater than 1. Okay, so this is clearly not sufficient. Okay, because we don't know the exact value of v. So v can be less than 1 or more than 1, since the only condition that it needs to respect is that it needs to be greater than 0. The second condition tells us that v is greater than 2. Okay, v is so u over v. Let's take, for example, if u is equal to 1, if u is equal to 1, so u v will be equal to 1. Equal to 1, and v to the power u will be v to the power 1. And we know that v is greater than 2, so v to the power 1 will be greater than um, u to the power v. But let's say, but what if u is 1.5, we will get 1.5, so u to the power v. Now, if u is this, v is 3, because it's greater than 2, let's suppose. So we will get u over v, which will be equal to 1.5 over 3, and v to the power u will be equal to 3 to the power 1.5. Okay, so this is going to give us 1 over 8. So 1 over 8 is a 0 something, okay? So it's less than 1. And this will be, so square root of 3, which is less than 2. So it's 1 something, okay? But this is still greater than, 1.5. So that's when u is less than 1. But let's take if u is greater than 1. If u is equal to 4, for example, and v is equal to 3. So we have u to the power v is going to be 4 to the power 3, which will be 16 times 4, which will be equal to 16, 6 times 4, 24, 64. And then here we will have v to the power u. We have 3 to the power 4, So 9 times 9 VH1, and this will still be greater. Let's say if U is equal to 10 and V is equal to is equal to 5, okay? U is still equal to 3. 5 over 3, 25 times 5, and 25, and we will have V over U here, which will be 3 to the power 5. Okay, so it still be greater. It seems like the second condition alone will be sufficient. Let's say if we switch, if U is equal to 3 and V is equal to 4. So that means UV will be 3 to the power 4. So we will get 9 times 9, 81. And then V to the power U will be, yeah, this will give us 64. Okay, so now you can see that U to the power V is greater than V to the power U. Meanwhile, here, the examples that we were taking here, U to the power V was less than V to the power U. Okay, so this is not sufficient as well. But if we combine the two, which tells us that U is 1, V is more than 2. So definitely U to the power V will be equal to 1, and V to the power U will be equal to V. And we know that V is greater than 2, greater than 1, so greater than UV. Okay, so both taking these two conditions together will be sufficient. So C.